Hey, Emily.
Hello.
So, my kid brought his quads home from school.
I mean, aren't those like attached to you?
Yes, he also brought the harness. It
I,
is loud, so
I
loud.
don't know what it is. Well, like,
So, it's
what is
it's
this?
it's in marching band. They have the harness and then
Oh, the
the four
drums.
drums. Yes.
Oh.
Oh is right.
I feel like I need to send you some like earplugs, like
I don't
industrial strength.
I don't know if those would even work. Like the child was outside practicing. I was inside on a call and they could hear clearly my child who was outside. I don't know how I'm going to last. He's not even in high school yet. And this is what he wants to do for high school. So we have another like 4.5 years of this.
Oh my gosh. You know what might help you?
What?
Starting this episode.
Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Emily, author of the Xeris Galaxy Saga, among other things.
And I'm Kristen Crum, author of the YA rom-com It Happened at Christmas, among other things.
We're excited to welcome you to The Margins, a podcast where we have candid conversations about the writing life, indie publishing, the book industry, and more.
So let's jump into today's candid conversation.
Ah, yes. What are we talking about today, Kristen?
Today, our candid conversation is about how to make it as an indie with the rising print costs, the exclusivity, and limitations on print on demand.
Yes. So I kind of like pitched this idea to Kristen because I am coming from a very irritating like revelation this week. So for those of you who don't know, I did mention I am the author of the Xeris Galaxy Saga, but what that entails is two, soon to be three books out in print, and I did like fund them on Kickstarter. So that was very helpful because I was able to fund print runs for them all. This matters because in doing that, that's awesome. I have a lot of stock and then I have to like house it in our garage. But
Exciting.
yeah, it is nice. It is lovely to see like the like palette of books coming in and it's really exciting. But I myself as an indie cannot distribute to like, at least widely enough to make it worth it for me. So I have to use distributors. So this week I learned, which I feel like I should have known this, but I didn't, that Ingram Spark actually takes a percentage of the wholesale discount that you as an indie allow for like retailers basically to purchase your book at. So that's a lot of words, but really what it means is that let's say my book is $20, which actually the third book is probably going to be more than that because it's going to be massive.
And
Um,
awesome. So it's going to be
yeah.
fine.
But I put it up on, for example, Ingram Spark, and they then distribute it to places like Target and Walmart and Waterstones in the UK and things like that, Books A Million, whatever. But I have to choose the discount at which those bookstores can purchase my book from. So, what they recommend, which is just bananas to me, is 55%. And that's a pretty steep discount.
So when you say 55%,
Mhm.
is that off of the cover price or is that off of your print? Like how much you have to pay to get it printed?
That is a great question. I wish I could answer it super specifically because, but I am not great with math. I believe where that comes in, and I should have double checked this before we hopped on here, but I think that it comes off of the retail price, but I could be wrong on that. It could be on the price after the print, print costs are
Yeah.
taken out, and I'm just not positive on that. Now that I'm saying it, I feel like that might be true. It's sorry, guys.
Well,
We're gonna
I
have to
think
Google
I
it
feel
and
like
drop
that
it in.
is I feel like that is true as well. I don't know. I'm assuming that Ingram Spark is going to be a lot like KDP, and KDP. I mean, you're getting like, okay, for example, I have an indie bookstore that can purchase my book from like the big book marketplace that they purchase books from, and when that happens, I'm getting like 33 cents per book. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's like it's
Right.
like your
So
print cost.
I think what happens, and this is where it gets a little disparaging, is that again, let's say we have, and I'm going to try to make these numbers make sense. And yes, Emily is pulling out a calculator because she is not one for math. But if you take, like, let's say your book is $20 and let's take $5 away for print cost. Again, this is totally just random. So you would then, like, 55% of that is like $8.25. So no, yes, that's right. So that is the 55% discount. Then you think, oh well, that's great. The bookstore then can purchase the book at that 55% discount. But no, that's incorrect. What it actually means is that Ingram Spark itself will take 15% of that 55%, and then they negotiate with whoever is purchasing the book. So whether that could be Amazon, because they do distribute to Amazon, but
Hmm.
that's another thing. I actually go direct to Amazon, but we'll talk about that later. Or it could be Target, it could be Barnes and Noble, whatever. They will then purchase the book at, whatever cost then that they agree upon with Ingram Spark. But basically what it means is that if your book price is not high enough, you will be making, well, in some cases, you might not even be able to be represented in that market because you don't have enough margin left over in your book for them to, like, for there to be any profit. But most of the time it does mean that your profit is less than $1. And that is so disheartening. Like, ugh.
But please don't take this as a sign to give up.
No, no. So
um,
I mainly wanted to put that out there as, like, okay, this is the reality, right? These are the things that we're facing as indies. And yes, it can be really sad to say, well, I spent however many hundreds of hours writing and editing and polishing up this novel, and now I have to sell it for, like, 33 cents or whatever. But there are some options.
there are some options. I think the first thing is to please remember your why
Mhm.
you are writing books, because when news like this comes out of like, oh hey, I wrote this book, please buy it, and then you realize that yes, people can buy it, but you're only getting 33 cents, it can get really like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
you remember your why behind why you are writing, why are you putting these books out, that really helps, because then the money matter. Now if you're doing it to make money, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you know what? And this is something, actually, I think that it's good to bring into this conversation,
Hmm.
which is your definition of success. And I've talked about
Yes.
this a lot. We have to define, and I don't mean this in the sense of like, well, I say what my success is going to be and then I get it. It's
Hmm.
more of like, what do I determine in this moment, in this
Right.
season of my writing life, that success is for me? And to me, what is successful is for my book to be able to be widely purchased. Like,
Yes.
there are some other more specific solutions that we're going to talk about that you can kind of help to, like, mitigate some of those angsty problems that us indie authors face. But when I think of success, I'm also thinking long term.
Hmm.
And so I may only be able to make 33 cents on this very first book. But again, it's the
Yes.
first book in a series. Or, when will I start to see more
Yes.
income? When I have more books out.
Yes, and I feel like that's something else to bring up too, is because it's always discouraging to me when people are like, "Oh, well, we're writers, we don't make money," which
Right.
I hate that, and I hate when people bring that up, because there are ways to make
Hmm.
money off of your writing. There are ways to be a full-time writer, because if there wasn't, then people wouldn't be doing it. And
Yeah.
there are lots of very, very, very successful indie authors out there
Hmm.
that are doing it. So let's talk about some of the solutions, some of the ideas that we have in order to help with this distribution issue that
Hmm.
indies are facing.
Yeah. Well, and the first one, and this is one that I would say I'm, like, growing. I am not to the point where I'm happy, but is to sell direct online. And
Yes.
that is like a game changer, my friends, because it does mean that you become the distributor in a sense. And so the challenges that you face are recognition, and basically, like, helping spread the news. It's really
Yeah.
hard.
I
It's
feel
really
like
hard.
I feel like if you're going to sell direct, I feel like it takes a little bit more grit, because
Hmm.
you're basically having to retrain your readers not to
Hmm.
jump over to a big box store website and purchase your book
Mhm.
super easily, but to come over to your website. And there are ways to sweeten the deal a little bit when you're
Mhm.
selling direct, I feel like.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like if you start training your readers and
Mhm.
you stick with it, then
Yeah.
eventually that will be the norm. They will know
Mhm.
that, oh, Emily has a book out. I'm first going to go look on her website because she always has the better prices, the better
Mhm.
deals, extra goodies thrown in, whatnot, as opposed to buying off of the website on Amazon. And yes, you might get it in 2 days, but I mean,
Right. No, and that's exactly what I do. A few of the things that I'm trying to do to mitigate like some of these,
mhm.
issues is first and foremost, I do sell all the books signed with the option to have them personalized, of course, at no cost. I try to bring my prices down as much as possible for shipping, but that is like a hard price that most people will understand.
Your hands are kind of
Um,
tied with the
it
shipping. It's how much
it
how
really
much
is.
UPS. If you got a problem with shipping, just go talk to your local postman. Maybe don't.
Exactly.
Maybe don't.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe don't. But then I also include bookmarks. And to me, while that is not like, oh man, that's gonna, it's not gonna cost me a ton of money, it does sweeten the deal. Now, I design them myself, so I kind of can navigate around some of that, but maybe you have Canva, maybe you can find a way to do it yourself and make it look pretty and have it unique to each of the books. That is going to also sweeten the deal, like you said. I know you've talked about like book bundles, like,
Yes. So my my thoughts on direct sales is to make sure that your shop always has the lowest prices.
mhm,
As an indie, you are in control of how like the pricing on different websites, right? So if you're working with something like KDP or with Ingram Spark, because sometimes that is going. If you want to be in those big and the
mhm,
big markets, then you're just going to have to deal with it. But um, make those prices a little bit more than what
mhm.
is on your website because then it will draw people in. And
I will
yes,
say though, really quick to this, there is, and it could be a very, very small percentage of a time
hmm
where this is possible, but there could be an issue where Amazon then would price match to that.
hmm
I don't think so. I'm jumping ahead here, so I want to come
you're
back to
good.
what you were going to say. But the website that I use for my shop is different than probably like a Shopify or whatever.
hmm
And so I don't think I'm going to be seen as huge competition to
Yeah.
Amazon. I know I'm not. So I don't think that I am going to face that at this point, but
Yeah.
just be aware that that could be an issue.
The
But I
other the
agree.
the other thing that I like to do with direct sales is if you purchase the paperback from me, then you get the ebook for free. So that is
Mhm,
another thing that quite frankly Amazon cannot price match that, I don't
mhm,
believe. So sweetening the deal with, free ebooks, free swag, making sure that they're
mhm,
signed, better pricing,
mhm.
that can help with training your readers where to purchase your books.
Mhm. And speaking of, I'm going to throw a little thing in here. We're not necessarily sponsored, but I am an affiliate for Zilvi, and that's what I use for my shop website. Now, I totally know that Shopify is amazing and does some really great stuff. So this is nothing against that. I just like my budget was not on. I'm not a Shopify budget person yet at this point. Maybe in the future someday I will be. But I found that Zilvi, I found it actually through CJ Malisi and Corinne Norton, two of my friends. They use it as well. And so I was willing to try it out. And they actually have an option where you can buy it flat out basically. So it's not a subscription. I, paid one time price and it's unlimited and I get to use it and like they're continuing to upgrade it. I'll say a few things about it just because I know it sounds like I'm pitching it to you, but I do want to give the alternative to people who might want to create a shop and just don't have the budget to like do a Shopify thing. So for Zilvi, which I think is really great, you can kind of like they're always adding to it because he's this creator who's created a couple of different apps and stuff, and so he's always looking for ways to improve. So he's very responsive. Like he may not immediately reply to your chat, but he always gets back to you, and that's been really helpful for me because I'm like, well, what about this? And then he'll like add in stuff to the website if he's like, oh, that's a great idea. He's like,
That's
let's make it
awesome.
happen, which I think is really cool. But also like they're not taking, because of the level that I bought at, they're not taking any portion of my sales, things like that. It connects to, PayPal, Stripe, all the things that you need. And it's relatively easy to set up. I don't feel like it's like, a challenge or whatever. So I'm able to connect it to my website. And so when you can click on shop on my website, it bumps you out to the Zilvi website. And then there's a back button that I chose to have in that just says like, take me back to Emily's website. So really like seamless. So kind of, it may not look exactly like it's part of my website, but it's like, it's clean. It's easy to see, easy to use. So I've had some bumps along the way of like setting up shipping and setting up all these things. Like I didn't realize that people from other countries could purchase on the website, and just got an order from Australia, which is awesome. Like I want more of that, of course, but it's also expensive to ship overseas. So had to work out some stuff on that, but we got it. We got those books off. So I won't say that it has been like, oh, like it's been so easy or whatever. But overall, for a good alternative, that has
Yeah.
been really great for me. I can sell my audiobooks, my ebooks, my paperbacks, and my hardcovers on my website. And, I can direct people there and I get a lot more of this, the cut of the sales, which I think is great.
That is awesome. So yeah, if you want to help support Emily, support the podcast, you can use
Find
the
the link
affiliate
below.
link that we link below.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But also, okay, to push past the selling online, selling in person. Now, this is twofold to me. And one of those, like Kristen has gotten to experience with me, which is like literally selling in person at like an expo. She is awesome and so helpful. Like seriously, if you could all just have a little pocket size Kristen that you like boop, and she's just grows up to, I don't know, a full size Kristen. That sounds weird, but so helpful. But yes, being in person, selling your books, if you can get your high concept down, your pitch really solid, can be huge and like so much more powerful, I feel like, than just like online.
I feel like as well because you're actually meeting the author as opposed to just clicking a button on a website. And I do think that that goes way back to being more helpful for your overall career because you haven't only gained a reader, you've gained a super fan.
Mm-hmm.
Because they fall in love with you as the person, not necessarily just your books. And so,
Yep.
I mean, I have said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. If your reader will fall in love with you, they will follow you to whatever you decide to do. So,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then the second aspect of that is actually selling direct to local bookstores. And yes, it is as terrifying as it sounds. No, it's not. Well, it kind of is. No. I was so blessed when I came to our new little town here in Indiana. They have such an incredible bookstore that's local, and it's grown. It's added in a different location. It's just been great. And I had a really good friend from my church who was able to connect me with the owner. And so sitting down with her and just kind of getting a chance to talk, you have to think of it from the perspective of a bookseller, especially if you're an indie. There's a lot that kind of goes against you. Unfortunately, there are some stigmas, right? But then also it's just like, is your book professionally done? And so for me, sitting down and talking with the owner, I was able to explain to her my desire to have my books in her store, but also my desire to partner with them. How can I help you as an indie author? Is it doing events at your store and bringing in outsiders so that they also get to look around to maybe buy other books in addition to mine? Is it something where, I can be a part of like a panel or silent book club or whatever? It's just not seeing it as this is about me selling my books and much more being like, how can I partner with you?
and I think indie bookstores are and booksellers, they're going to be the best advocates for you because
Mhm.
they are going to be the ones that are directly with the reader. That when they come up and they're like, I don't know, I'm kind of looking something sci-fi, but not really sci-fi, but a little bit of romance. And they're like, I
Mhm.
have the book for you. Here's
Yeah.
Suspended in the Stars. You want to read this. You're going to love it. She has two more. They are
Mhm.
going to be the ones that are selling you to the reader. So not to put any more pressure on you, but when you go to these meetings, you make the good impression. If they
Mhm.
love you, they are going to want to sell your books because they are also going to want to see you succeed. So when a teacher comes by and needs to know, do they know any authors that can come do a event, or if they need somebody to come and do a book signing or an event for the weekend, like you'll be top of mind.
Yes, I totally agree with all of that. I mean, you've also had your bookstore. Did they handle like pre-orders for you as well, like your local indie?
I have. Now those were not, well, no, I did have them with my indie too. So they're not local to me anymore because I moved out of state. But even with the release of On the Golden Cliffs, which was not indie, but they did handle all of those
Mm-hmm.
pre-orders. I had made those connections with them for, it happened at Christmas. I
Mm-hmm.
did my first book signing with a bookstore and made that relationship. So then when I did have another book releasing, I could call them and be like, hey, I've seen all these other really big time authors do like this whole, pre-orders, and then they can come in and sign all of them. I would love to have this opportunity. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
100% we will do that for
I
you.
love that.
And there was a snafu with the ordering for my first traditional book come out. And literally my indie bookstore handled like
Mm.
all of the pre-orders, had a spreadsheet, knew exactly. So she was 100% ready to purchase the paperbacks when they were available. But because she stepped in to help me, like we had a whole list of paperback pre-orders before the paperback was even available for
That's
people to
awesome.
pre-order. So
Yeah.
indie bookstores, this is a big push for them as well, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you are an indie author. You need them. You need these partnerships. So go
Mm-hmm.
out there and make them.
Absolutely. And then another thing that you can do as an indie author, and this is gonna, it's gonna kind of be interesting because I know not everybody's gonna maybe agree with this. And I don't know that I really agreed with it when someone pointed this out, but they were saying that they have shifted their focus to more of like the digital products, ebooks and
And
audiobooks.
I will say, as a person who absolutely loves paperback, I hated this advice, but it it is very, very, very solid
Hmm.
advice.
Well, okay, so let's talk it through then because I agree. I mean, I'm a physical copy girl. Like that's what I
Hmm.
want. But I'm also an audiobook lover. And so I think like what they were kind of getting to with this like point of advice because this was posted on something that I put on Threads.
Hmm.
And I think what they were saying is that like as an indie you will inherently make way more on any of your digital products. Now, that could, I would say for sure on ebooks, but less so on audiobooks, depending on your cost of production. Cause like my cost of production is pretty high because my books are pretty long. So that may not always be the case, but I can sell my audio, and that is profit for me versus selling it through, which I still put it through
I
other
was
formats, but
I was gonna say, if we take out the production cost of everything, production cost of books, production cost of audiobooks, ebooks get the bad rap or the good rap because they don't really have a whole lot of production cost
hmm
behind them. But audiobooks are still going to be king
hmm
because especially nowadays people are so busy, they don't have time to pick up a book and read, but they do have time to listen to the book while they're going. So
hmm
if you were to put money into anything, I mean, other than a really good cover and making sure that it's
you're editing a
it's
solid. Yeah.
yes, you're editing a solid, like I would highly recommend audio because I have multiple people multiple people have said, I'm not reading that book because it's not out in audio yet.
hmm
And
I agree, and I would caveat this advice with saying that as an audiobook lover, because I'm that way. I'm like,
mhm.
"Oh my gosh, why doesn't this book have an audiobook?" Like, so I totally agree. But I have heard conventional wisdom also be make sure that your book is selling well before you invest in the
um,
audio. Now, there are ways to do royalty share and ACX, things like that, which are an option. Or maybe it's like you can work out a deal with your audiobook narrators to pay them in installments or something like that. Totally agree. Or do a Kickstarter, but not just for the audio, but that's another podcast.
mhm.
Um, but, incorporate that in some of your cost, but more along the lines of thinking through, okay, maybe I wait till my trilogy is done. And not me specifically, because I didn't
Mhm.
do that, but maybe wait till your trilogy is done or your duology or whatever, and then invest in it because you want to make sure that you're not putting that cart before the horse.
Right, right. And I mean, talking about long term here, you are always going to have to pay to get books printed. Always.
Mhm.
At some point, you will have the production cost of that audiobook paid off. And
Mhm.
then, especially if you're direct selling, that's 100% profit.
Very true. Very true. Totally agree. So push into that. And honestly, another thing I thought of too with this is, and I have like different thoughts about this, but going exclusive with Amazon to be in KU for your ebooks. There are pros and cons to this, and this is not the podcast to get into that, at least not today. But I will say that there are a lot of people in the right genres that do well on KU that make a lot of money from that. And I think that the person who mentioned this comment to me was also kind of incorporating some of that, because yes, you may limit then where your book can be, although now they've shifted so that Amazon will allow your book to be in libraries as well if it's in KU, which I think is awesome. But it might be something where you give yourself a stint in KU to increase some of that revenue before pulling it back out to go wide. I do think it's smart to be wide. That's what I am. But I will be putting my books in KU for 90 days at one point to get
and
those readers.
I feel like that is a bonus to being an indie, is that you can see what works best for you. Your readers may
Hmm.
not be in KU,
Yeah.
and it does not do you any good to put it in KU if your readers aren't going to be there anyway.
Hmm.
Like for example, for me, I have a Christmas book. Maybe I put it, the 90 days, like October to December, the Christmas season,
Hmm.
but then the rest of the year I don't, because it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get noticed by other readers who, especially if you have a backlist, you
Hmm.
put a book in KU, they read it, they love it, then they go see what else you have. So,
Yeah.
and I think that right there, having a backlist, I think that is where, as indies, we're going to make our most money, to
Very true.
tell you honestly and truthful.
Very true. So the last two things, I'm going to run through these really quick. Well, at least the first one I am. If you can do a print run like I did, do a print run. Now, this is not for everybody. Not everybody's going to have the space or the desire to be your own distributor. But if you can, buying your books in a larger quantity, even if it's just like, I say even, but like 150 books, like, yes, that's a lot of books, but buying them in bulk like that is going to cut down on your costs. But granted, just be aware you have to house those.
And I also feel like that might push you more to do those in-person events because,
Very
hey,
true.
you have 150 books you got to push. So,
Exactly. And then our last tip here is a little more drastic and definitely takes a mental shift, because this may not be for you. I would like it to be for me, but I don't know. But it is to just write shorter books.
yes, write shorter books and write a lot of them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, I am always fascinated by any author who says that they're indie and says that they're making $1 million. I mean, like
Hmm.
who doesn't want that, right? And so I was listening to a podcast episode about a girl who was bringing in consistently $1 million based on her indies alone. And so I started listening to it. I kind of checked out a little bit because she was like, it's all about it's woo woo.
Manifesting.
Manifesting, thank you. It's
It's
all about
woo.
it's woo woo. It's all about manifesting, and then what you think about you'll attract. And I'm like, okay, well,
I
there's more
think
to
about
it than that.
donuts and they don't just appear,
Right,
unfortunately.
right.
So,
I know, right? So, but one thing that really got me thinking is she was saying that she's done this on like 93 books, and she's done
mhm,
93 books in like I think like a year and a half or 2 years. Like it was crazy. But then she said all of her books are between 20 and 30,000 words long. That's it.
so
This is what
short.
she has made her millions of dollars on, is a bunch of, for
Novellas,
lack of
really.
better term, novellas.
Yeah.
And so yeah. So write shorter books and write a lot of them. And apparently when you get to 93, you'll be making $1 million. No,
Well,
don't
and I
quote me on that
think,
though.
yeah, I know. I think too, it's so easy. And you're not doing this at all, Kristen, but I think what happens is it's very easy to see someone else's success and think like, or hear about it and be
Mhm.
like, wow, $1 million, which is awesome. Like I'm not at all diminishing her like what she's earned. I think that's
Right.
amazing. But she likely, this is just a guess. I know you've told me about it, but I don't know if you told me the genre. I would
I
guess that
did.
it's romance. Is it dark romance? Because
Yes.
yeah, it's dark romance, which sells really, really well. Which is not to say that you can't take this strategy and use it for your genre. It's
Yes.
just recognize that you may not have the same, like, results vary,
Mhm.
based on
What you're willing
well,
to write.
and what your audience is able to accept as well. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because I think about, like, I've queried my audience about Kickstarters before, because Kickstarter books are a little bit more expensive. That's just the way that they are. And I've asked them, like, how many books from me could you stand to buy? And the same thing with my other pen names, like, how many books could you, like, afford in a year, type of thing. So consider your audience, consider your genre, and then also, like, consider the fact that thankfully we're not under as much pressure as we used to be about rapid releasing. I think readers are understanding that, but it also does help. It helps in the algorithm, and it helps, like, be visible.
I will say this about rapid releasing though is as best you can, do not start a publishing timeline that you cannot withstand and cannot
Mm-hmm.
consistently. So if you are consistently putting out a book a month
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing great for a while and then something catastrophic happens and you can't get a couple books out for a couple months, your audience, they're going to move on. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to move on and they're going to forget, and then you're going to have to start back down at ground zero because you had been consistently doing the book a month, and then after you're not doing a book a month anymore, they're like, yeah.
Especially if it's in the
So
middle of a series,
right,
like,
right. Now there
yeah.
will be times and seasons where it's like it's time to rapid release, and you rapid release and then you move on and maybe you rapid release later. I'm just saying have a plan behind it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
plan for the rest of your life to release a book a week or a book a month, or
Mm-hmm.
if that
Yeah.
is not sustainable for you,
Oh, yeah.
because
And I mean, I hesitate to even bring this into the conversation right now. The AI thing is very apparent. And so
yes.
people are going to start to wonder, can this person
Hmm.
sustain this? Now, granted, if your books are 20 to 30K, definitely a lot more, like, accessible, and you're able to do that a lot faster. So if you're going to do that, bring people into the process. And this was
Yes.
my last point, is, like, communicate, right?
Always bring
Communicate
people in.
with your
Yes.
audience. Yeah. Tell them what you're doing, show them your work, show them the stuff.
Yes, yes. Well, and this goes back to what I've always said, bring the people in and show them you and they're going to love you, and I feel like that happens when you bring them into the process. And also it
Hmm.
is kind of that protection for you so that people aren't like, "Oh, we're writing her off. She's writing too fast. Like this must be
Hmm.
AI." You have brought them behind in your
Yeah.
process, and I mean, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, yeah, I know. She doesn't sleep for 4
Yeah.
days and she drinks coffee
Yeah.
and then."
It is possible. And that's the thing, is I've seen a lot of critique on, oh, there's no way that you can write fast and write well.
There
That's not
is.
true. You can
Emily
do
does
it.
it.
I've done it. Like,
Emily does it a lot.
I wrote 15,000 words in one day. So that's like almost that's like
That's
almost the
like
length of one of those books.
you could push through 5,000 more
Yeah.
words and you could have a
I
novella.
mean, so it is possible. So I wouldn't use that as, like, a gauge, but
Yeah.
just know that, be cautious. Don't over stress yourself,
Yes.
basically.
Just whatever you can sustain is what. Make your plans. Make your
Yeah.
plans. And if you
All
don't
right.
know how to make your plans,
We're past
we're
our
your
time.
girls.
So we're going
Okay.
to move on to these last
Let's
two
move on.
parts
Yes.
really
Yes,
quick.
yes, yes.
So our pub tip for today was just something that, like, again, these are just, like, short little things that you might already have this, but if you don't, we suggest that you do. And that would be to have multiple versions of your bio. So, like, your author bio and your lovely author headshot, like we talked about a few episodes ago, saved in a folder on your computer that's, like, readily accessible. So I suggest having a slightly, like, maybe like a paragraph length version that's maybe a little, like, what's the word? Like it shows a bit of your character through the bio. You can also have a little bit longer professional one if you feel like you're going to need that. And then I also really recommend to have a short bio, like maybe 50 words to maybe 75. I have been asked so many times to have a short bio, and I have been saved by having that document on my computer where I can just copy and paste it and then update it as needed to have that. So, so helpful.
So here is my pro pub tip is if you have a website, which you should have a website, whether you're brand new, just getting started, or you're a seasoned veteran writer. On your website, have a page, have a media page where it has all of your headshots, it has all of your bios, it has all of your social media links. These end up being so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I manage and I produce multiple podcasts for multiple different people, and I do not know how relieved I am when I can go to somebody's website and it's all right there. I can
So
grab the
nice.
headshot. I can grab the social media links. I don't have to search for them. They're all right there in one spot. So it's so great to have those.
Yes. And then we have our listener question today. Again, it's been a while since I sent this in, so I don't remember who sent it to us, but their question was, do you have to set up a business to be an indie author?
Short answer is no. Long answer is it
Maybe.
could be helpful.
Maybe and yes.
Maybe and yes. I have a good friend who is also my CPA, and he highly recommends you to have an LLC at least as an indie because it gives you a layer of protection that you do not have
Mhm.
otherwise. He has given numerous speeches on this that I have listened to. Such good information. If there's enough like
Interest.
interest, I
Yeah.
could maybe have him on the podcast and we could talk about this more in depth.
Mhm.
But
Yes, let us
yeah.
know because we definitely want to be talking about topics that are helpful for you guys. So if this is
Hmm.
something that you're like, that would be so helpful, then definitely let us
Yes.
know. I
Yes.
will say I don't have an LLC and I know I should. That
You
is
should.
probably something I'm going to try to start in 2026, which I think I said at the beginning of 2025. And here we are. We don't talk about taxes.
I will say setting up an LLC is not as hard as you think, and it's not as scary as you think. As a person who does not like doing like business and tax things, I know it's hilarious because I've owned my own business for so long, but
Same.
yeah. So yeah, it's not hard at all, I promise you. And if you do need a good CPA, I have a name for you.
Yes, definitely. So, thank you guys so much for joining us again. I think we forgot to say this last time, but if you have not, we would absolutely love for you guys to leave a review for us on whatever podcast platform that you're listening on. And if you've joined us here on YouTube to see our beautiful faces in person, would you consider liking and subscribing? Honestly, it just helps to get the word out and just spread a little bit more of news about us, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Feel free to share with your writer friends. And if you have like less listener questions or any tips or tricks or anything that you want to share with us, reach out. We would love to hear them.
Yes. Also, we have a Substack.
Oh,
Love for you to join us over there. We have lots of things planned. It's a little baby Substack right now, but we are planning on doing some fun things in 2026. So
mhm.
be sure to follow us over there.
Yes, you can join us at the margins writing, and it's pretty much across the board on our Instagram, on our YouTube, and on our Substack. Find us there.
So we have so enjoyed having you with us this week. And until next time,
Bye.
bye.